It is now my distinct pleasure to introduce today's moderator. Let me just double check. Christophe Chameau, who is a research engineer at the Heracles Research Infrastructure in France. He has over 25 years of experience in academia, industry, and scientific platforms, and specializes in advanced imaging techniques, primarily fluorescent microscopy and image analysis. Christophe began his career at the Jacques Monod Institute in Paris before leading the microscopy platform at the École Normale Supérieure in Lyon until 2018. And he then spent 3 years at an agricultural engineering school where he designed and developed innovative tools such as hydroponics and aquaponics systems, hyperspectral imaging setups, and risotrons, which I think is really cool. Currently, as a research engineer at the Heracles Research Infrastructure, Christophe focuses on developing light sheet microscopy and advanced imaging analysis workflows, with a particular emphasis on artificial intelligence-based processing to support cutting-edge biological research. And with that, Christophe, I'm gonna hand it over to you.
Thank you very much. Depending on your location, guys, good morning, afternoon, or evening, everyone. And thank you for joining us today. As previously said, my name is Christophe Chameau, and I have the pleasure of introducing our speaker for this session. So it is my honor to present Magali Bénard. She's a PhD in neurosciences and a research engineer specializing in Primasen, an open access research platform at the University of Rouen in Normandy. Magali brings a wealth of expertise in cell biology and applications of innovative microscopy techniques to living cells and organisms. Over the past few years, she has led several projects that explore our facilities' unique capabilities for biomedical and industrial uses, publishing her findings in leading journals and collaborating with interdisciplinary teams across the world. As you know, live cell imaging is crucial for visualizing dynamic biological events in living samples. However, as we all know, the key challenge is in this field is maintaining cell survival by limiting light-induced cellular stress while achieving high-quality imaging. To address that, Magali will discuss the essential live cell imaging quartet: sample preparation, probe selection, instrument optimization, and image processing. The major focus of today's talk will be on the power of fluorescence lifetime imaging, so the so-called FLIM in French, and its integration with the STED nanoscopy. Beyond the impressive research record, Magali is known for a clear communication style and her enthusiasm for translating complex science into practical solutions, qualities that makes her an excellent guide for today's topic. Please join me in welcoming Magali Bénard. Magali, the floor is yours.
Thank you a lot, Christophe, and thank you for the invitation. So it's a real pleasure to be here with you today or tonight. So I will share my presentation. Yes. And I need some. Okay. So it's okay for you? So I would like to present the subject. So after an invitation of Bioprotocol, because we have make some paper with the description of one method, so to optimize live cell imaging, so from probe to FLIM and STED integration. So it's an advanced microscopy technique for cellular dynamics. So to begin, I would like to present the quartet. So it's very important because when we realize time-lapse fluorescence microscopy, it's essential to have the sample online, living sample. So the key challenge is to maintain the cell survival, of course, by limiting the light-induced cellular stress to obtain high quality imaging. But the cell preparation is very important. The prop selection, it's key to have a very good image. The instrument optimization and the image processing. So for the sample, so the preservation of the cell viability, so we use one cell line H28 cells, so mesenterial cells, because it's adherent cells, but for all adherent cells, you can use this method. So we have to well optimize the cell density and to check the physiological state of your cells, of course, it's very important. We will see that. We have to incubate probes. So we can use fusion protein, but here we talk about probes, so passive permeant molecules that go inside the cell by penetration through the cell membrane. And we have to measure the efficiency and optimize the concentration and the incubation time. So we'll see that. And we have described everything in a bioprotocol journal. The instrument to obtain high quality imaging, you use confocal microscopy, equipped with white light laser, very tunable wavelength. So it's very important to have this flexibility. A very sensitive detector, so new generation hybrid detector with a high signal to noise ratio. And integration of FLIM, donc fast fluorescence lifetime imaging, so we talk FLIM. And for the super resolution, STED nanoscopy, so with red depletion laser. And after that, we have the image processing. So for to obtain the lifetime imaging, so very important to see different components in your image and from the environmental information. So it's very informative. We will see that just after. The lifetime dye unmixing. So for the multiplexing, it's a fantastic tool. We will see that also. And lifetime denoising to improve the quality of the image after STED acquisition. And tracking and everything to measure the dynamic inside the cell. So it is the quartet to have to consider in the globality, and we will see each part in this presentation. So first of all, the probes, so the optimization of the probe for live cell imaging. So we have some key consideration for the probe. First of all, the physical properties. So the probe must be, the fluorescence must be very stable. So resistant to the light, so no have sensitivity from the photo bleaching. The brightness. If the probe is very bright, it's more easy, it's easier to observe. And the high quantum yield, so it is the physical characteristic. The incorporation, so specific. If you have a probe, you want your probe go in the compartment adapted. So you have some example of probe with the target of nucleus or actin or mitochondria, so it's very specific. Efficient, that means the probe stay inside the compartment, not go outside on the cytoplasm or out the cell. Non-toxic is very, very important to check the toxicity of the probe, because often the provider indicate you have no toxicity, but it's very important to check the toxicity of the probe inside your cell and after stimulation by the light. So it's a key point. And the density of the fluorescent molecules, if you have only 1 or 2 dots, or if you have the entire compartment, is not the same difficulties. The concentration, so the minimum effective amount to reduce the background, because it is the same thing, the provider give us some range, and it's very important to dilute your probe until have an effective rate. So it could be enough to see your sample, you see your signal, and you have not an accumulation or inside your cells that could be cytotoxic, and you can induce background. So the minimum effective is important. And the spectral range, to use molecules with the fluorescence are in the red and near infrared. So after 600 nanometers. So it's very, very important as indicated in this graph. So very important to use the red color. So I give you some example of from spirochrome and pro imaging, very red dye, very bright, stable in the time, and no toxic at all. So in this probe, we have to check the lifetime value, so indicate tau. So tau we will see in film, it's very important to have the characteristic of lifetime for each probe. And we have checked also the irradiance, so the red color, it's very adapted for this probe. In Bioprotocol Journal, I have put together all the probe we have used in this technique of film instead. And we choose to show the target very ubiquitous, so that could be label the membrane, the lipid. We have 2 candidates for the mitochondria, 1 for the nucleus and 2 for the actin. So it is some example in red color, as you can see here for the excitation, and the band of emission we have choose to observe this probe. For each probe, we have measured the lifetime. So we have some multi-component. We will see after what happens. So multi-color, multi-tau, multi-lifetime. So in your sample, or mono-component, that means it's very pure. You have only 1 lifetime value. So it's very ideal for multiplexing. And we have to check if it's compatible with the STED, because it's very difficult to have red probe adapted to this technique. So we have some probe very efficient, others not really, and some are not. So we have put together all this information. And when we realize multiplexing, that means you put dye together. Be careful to the balance from the concentration of the dye and the incubation time for optimal multi-labeling. It's very important. So I will show you all these points in this slide. So this slide describes the protocol entire for the preparation with a key point for some note. So for the cells, so we use the H28, so it's very easy to cultivate, but you can cultivate other cells, of course. In RPME, so it is a classical media, so it's not a problem for the background. If you use DMEM or other media, be careful, because you can have a high level of phenol red, so that could induce background, so you have to choose to use this type of media without this indicator of pH, so without this colorate solution. In this media, you add some glutamine and FBF, so classically. And when you have confluence, but not wait to have confluence, because you decrease the metabolism of the cell, you detach the cells by using trypsin EDTA or other media adapted to detach the cell, and to seed your cell in special dish. So this dish, kind of dish is very important to use in microscopy because at the bottom is not plastic, it's a little cover slip on glass. So in this kind of dish, it's a bottom microwell dish with a glass cover slip. It's very important to have a grade 1.5 because it means you have exactly very close to 170 micrometers of thickness. So it's important for the microscopy. Sometimes your cell need to have a coating, protein coating or coating to make the adhesion. Be careful because if you have coating, some coating are not suitable for STED microscopy. So we have to adapt everything to have a very good adhesion and no background on your cell. When your cells are ready, that means they are attached, they form some communication or some adhesion you want to observe, you can realize the staining. So for the staining in your lab, we chose to make a stock solution in little aliquot. And each aliquot are used extratemporally to make the staining. So when 1 or 2 microliters at 1,000 or 1,000 for the dilution, it's the concentration for the exposure. You make the exposure by put only the 1 or 2 microliters in 1 milliliters to form twofold concentration. And when you have your dye in this solution or media, you put in your dish after removing 1 ml, because at the beginning you have 2 ml, you remove 1 ml, you leave 1 ml, or you remove all the liquid and put 1 fresh ml, and after that you put 1 ml into X. When you do that, in fact, you reduce the stress due to the movement of the liquid. So the best is to leave 1 ml in your dish and put 1 ml with your dye into X. When you make the incubation, so you have a time minimum for the incubation. For the spirochrome, the dye 1 hour, it's very stable. So after 1 hour, the staining stay and you have not more accumulation. So it's very good for the observation. And for the MitoTracker Red, WGA, Nile Red, and Pro Imaging dye, it's 30 minutes. So be careful when you realize multiplexing, you put together your dye or not. It's better, in fact, to make, for example, 30 minutes with spirochrome and the 30 minutes left with another dye that need 30 minutes. And at the end, you have a balance very good for the observation. So for the observation, so the instrument, it is the Leica Microsystem Stellaris 8. So it's an inverted confocal. So you put your cells here and use the observation, it's down. The system is equipped of a white light laser, so it's tunable laser. So you choose the wavelengths and 1 or 2 or 3 wavelengths together. So it's very flexible. We have film modules to realize film imaging. So by using the Falcon, it is the name in Leica Microsystem. The STED module, so with 2 depletion laser in your system, and the red laser, it is the best. And everything to keep the cell alive. So temperature chamber with a lot of probe to measure the temperature. The CO2 system to control and to keep the good CO2 percentage on your cell. And your dish, it's put in this support. And everything, it's closed. And you have the good temperature and the good gas inside. And you can leave your cell alive during few hours if you want. For the observation, you have different objectives, but the best it is the 86-fold objective because you have large working distance, so you can observe a lot of sample. It's a water immersion, so it's very good to conserve the optical way. So it's the best, and it's very specific and indicated for the living cell. So the system in a big photography, it is this system. And you can make the acquisition in confocal classical mode, so it's very classical. Or you can add the depletion laser to make the nanoscopy microscope, the super resolutive microscopy. And when we utilize the acquisition, you can activate the fast lifetime contrast mode, so the Falcon module, to make the film image. So when you come in the software from Leica, so that is a photography of the software, you have a lot of things to set. So the mode, if you want to make an image of XY with the Z to have the Z stack, and you combine with the time to make time lapse, of course. You can realize only time lapse in XYT, or you can combine the Z stack with the T stack to make a 4D image. The format, it is a question, important question. So it is in 1024 pixel, or you can decrease the format to have light image. If you don't need to see very high details, if you don't realize super resolutive image, or if you want just have the totality of your cells, or it's not important to have details, it could be enough to make some light format to preserve the cell and to also decrease the file, in fact, to make some stack. It could be better. The scanner speed, it's important also to set because it is the speed for the scanning. So if you want to preserve the sample, you can scan rapidly. Or if the time resolution, it's very important, you can increase the scanner speed. And you have the possibility to work in resonant mode. So resonant mode, that means you scan is very, very rapid. So it could be a good thing for the time resolution. The detectors are very important. So we have some detector, very sensitive, and the X is very appropriate for the red color. And the simultaneous mode could be very important for the living cell, because if you work in sequential, you have one detector, one image, and after that to realize another image, so you need more time, and you have two passages of laser. If you work in simultaneous, so that is the case here, you activate two detectors at the same time, two lasers, and you obtain your two images in only one passage. So it could be good for your cells. And after that, you have to set the repetition for the film image if you need to accumulate photon. And you can activate the supplemental laser for the stead acquisition. And for the stead acquisition, in this case of living cells and with this laser, you can put only 2 or 20% of power. It's efficient to have super resolutive image. So after acquisition in confocal mode or confocal stead mode, you have to realize the film analysis. To obtain lifetime imaging, we will see the details of what lifetime imaging. It is very important to know the environmental function of the compartment of the cell. The lifetime time unmixing, so for multiplexing, very good strategy to realize multiplexing, and the lifetime denoising or toasted for manipulate the image from the stabilizer. So beyond the color, so the wavelength, you have the power of the lifetime. So the lifetime, fluorescence lifetime, it is the average amount of time of a molecule stays in the excitated electronic state before it emits a photon. So you have an excitation laser here, and your photon are emitted, and you measure the time. So the time is very short, it's some nanoseconds. And when you realize some measurement, you put the measurement in this histogram in order to measure the exponential decay rate of the photon emitted. And you obtain after calculation the tau, so it is the lifetime, the value of the lifetime. And this value is measured for each part of your image, for each pixel. And after that, you obtain a lifetime image, a film image. With each pixel, it is a reflet of tau, so the value of lifetime. So for the short tau value to the high tau value. And this image, you have here an example for illustration for Leica microsystem, for example. So two main components, so vimentin and tubulin, and other, so again a range of tau value. And Leica microsystem have developed a very interesting tool, so named phasor plot. So the phasor plot, it is a representation of this image, and each tau value are put in this universal cycle, as you can see here. So if your product is very pure, so it is mono-exponential, it is at the level of the circle. And if you have many components, you go inside the circle. And the circle, you have the distribution of short lifetime to the long lifetime. So the lifetime are represented by this circle. And the manipulation of the phasor plot, it's very easy for a biologist. And you can manipulate the pixel and the lifetime easily with the phasor plot. So it's a very flexible method for the manipulation and pixel, and especially for the preservation of the cell when the accumulation and the acquisition is very rapid. So in lifetime imaging, you have each pixel localized, as you can see here, localized with the tau value. And you can reveal information about the cellular environment. So, for example, the pH of the vesicles or the metabolic state of mitochondria. We will see some example after. The lifetime dye mixing, so by using this phasor plot to, in fact, separate the signal provided from multiple dyes. And lifetime denoising, named also toasted by Leica microsystem, to improve signal to noise ratio. And you can use now the state in moderated power. So we see this is very important for the cell survival. So if you consider now the first example for the confocal image by using lifetime imaging. So in this table, we have seen just before, we have some mono components, so very pure, and multi-component, not very pure. And in this example, for example, for the SPY650 fast-actin, so it's mono-exponential, and in this phasor plot is represented in the line of this universal cycle. So only one concentrated pixel around 3.2 nanoseconds, 3.8, and the signal is very at this level. And the image in lifetime image, it's around 3.5 in green color, and all the signal is green. if you look at the multi-component example, for example, for Alexa Fluor 633 WGA, it's multi-component, but not at the level of the circle, but inside, and it's very dispersive. So it's multi-component. And if you look at the image, the lifetime image, you have some yellow, red, blue, and green color. So it's more dispersive. So it could be very informative of the environment because you have some vesicles and some structure. So maybe it could be in relation with the multi-component. And if it's very pure and you have only the labeling of the actin in one color, so you have this kind of image. And you can imagine you can easily put together some dye with the same specificity. So for the first example of multi-component, so we have WGA, you put in the dish, you leave 30 minutes, and you activate one wavelength, only 3% of power, so it's not a lot. The probe is very bright, so only 3% it's okay, so you can live a long time because you not stress the cell. You have the detector to harvest the signal. So it is a confocal image here. So only one color because you have one detector. But if you make the conversion in lifetime imaging, each pixel are colorized with according to the tau value. So if you make a zoom, you can observe the cell during 5 minutes, and you can see all the vesicles can move. You have the membrane with the tau value low, and inside the vesicle, the pH increase the tau value, and you can have a very informative image concerning the movement of vesicles and the tau value reflecting the metabolic state. Here, the variation of pH, for example. So you have the good image, a live image, and you have the information of pH here. Now, if you want to combine two pure dye, that means it's monocomponent. So one for the actin, the other for the mitochondria. The two colors are very close. The two wavelength is very close. So you can imagine activating only one wavelength in your laser and to have the two signals in the detector with a range allow to have all the signal of the two dyes. So of course you put your two dyes at the same tube and you put this tube at 2x solution in your dish and you leave 30 minutes in the incubator, and after that you put on the system. You have only one detector. Of course, the confocal image, it's only one color. So it's a red hot LUT here. So only one color. And after conversion in lifetime imaging, you can see some mitochondria in blue, green color, and the actin in red. If you have this range of tau value. So if you increase the range, the mitochondria are more blue and the actin more yellow. So the perception of your image is depending on the choice you have made of the range. But as you can see here, you have the two components, but it's not very clear. If you want to separate the signal of mitochondria and actin, you have to use the phasor plot. So from your image, with one detector, in phasor plot, you have the two monocomponent, the two dye. You can distinguish very easily the two dots. So you select the two dots, you make a separation of this two tau value, so by lifetime dye in mixing, And after that, you have two channels. One channel with the actin and another channel with the mitochondria. And after that, you can easily make the overlay. So it's very clear. You have the two channels very clearly. So the only thing, be careful, because if you want to observe co-localization, it's not possible. For example, you have a mix here of actin and mitochondria together. When you make the separation, you make a redistribution. So it's the limit of this technique. So it is a technique for unmixing. So, of course, you can realize this easily in time-lapse. And here you have one image every 3 seconds during 3 minutes, and you can observe movement of mitochondria. So very clearly, with some reorientation of mitochondria in this process. And some mitochondria are round, other tubular, so you have the shape of mitochondria. So it's really easy, and without stress, you can observe that. If you want to do this for 2 dyes, you can imagine you can realize with 3 dyes. So that is in this example. But be careful, because for the DNA, the value of lifetime, it is the same of the actin. So we have to change this marker of actin by the other. And you can combine the 3 dyes with 3 different value of two. So from the confocal image, you can obtain the lifetime imaging. And after phasor separation, 3 distinct channels. And after that, make the overlay of the 3 channels in only one passage of laser. So only one activation and one detector. So it's very easy. You don't stress the cell and you have a clear image. So in this software, you have the fast film. You just click on fast film to have the lifetime image. You can by phasor click to obtain the phasor distribution here, and easily selection the population, make the separation to have the three distinct channels. So it's very simple to have the channel. And if we need to make the balance between the intensity, it is the case here, the mitochondria is very low. You go to Fiji, for example, to modify the brightness contrast to adjust the scaling level, to increase the level of the signal of mitochondria. You put some LUT, so some false color, and after that, you realize the overlay. And you can do that easily for Z-stack and T-stack, so or in 4D stack. So it's very, very easy to do. Now you can imagine in multiplexing to multiply the detector and multiply the different modality. So this is the case here. You activate 2 detectors, 1 detector for nucleus and 1 detector with actin plus mitochondria. So here you leave your channel, here you dissociate by using the phasor plot, and after that you have the tricolor in only one passage in simultaneous by using the 2 detectors. But it's possible to choose to have 3 detectors, but be careful if you have co-stroke because you have spectrally close. It's possible to use the phasor plot to eliminate the pollution of this channel, for example. Here you have signal in your nucleus. You make the phasor plot to dissociate this image, and after you make the overlay only on mitochondria, the channel for the DNA and actin to have a perfect image at the end. So it is very easy to do that. And the lifetime dye unmixing could be used only also if you have pollution of your signal. So in NIRAD here, for example, in phasor plot is not really good because you have a lot of dot, and you selection the population and you can choose to keep this population with lipid droplet and eliminate the other. It's totally possible by using the lifetime dye unmixing in this case. And you can imagine in sample with a lot of autofluorescence. It's a very powerful tool to eliminate autofluorescence signal, especially in plant or muscle or other sample with a lot of autofluorescence. So this film image, it's a very painting of dynamic cellular landscape, as you can see here with the 3 color. So in your model of study of tunneling nanotubes, so it is bridge between cells, you can easily, in one passage, observe the dynamic of mitochondria along the actin process. So it's a very powerful tool. So one image every 5 seconds during 10 minutes. And you can zoom to observe very clearly the mitochondria. So it is a 20 minutes time lapse, so it's very long. So the delay, it's high, but it's totally possible to have short delay during all the time. And you can see in this case, if you look at this the mitochondria, you have a fission. And after that, you have a distribution of the 2 parts of the mitochondria, one in one cell and the other go through to the other cell. So it's very, very good tool. Now, if you aim, it's to make super resolution image. You can activate the STADE laser and use after that the film module. So the aim of STADE laser is to have a high resolution image. And with the TOW STADE, so by using the lifetime, you have it's not recommended to have a high zoom, and you can decrease the power of laser depletion because you have a compensation with the lifetime part. So the stimulated emission depletion named STADE. So the aim is to be to overcome the diffraction limit of light. So you have 2 lasers. So one for the simulation of your dye, another to create the donut. So the donut, it is the STADE laser that put a donut just to have at the end one point, one definitive point. So the depletion laser forced the excitated molecule to come back to the ground state and at the end to have only this spot. And if you activate the film module, this spot could be colored according to the TOW value. And what the TOW STADE make is to eliminate the low TOW value to have a very thin dot and eliminate the background. So everything is described by Leica. And you have a component of TOW that could make the monocomponent more multi-component, and you decrease the level of TOW. So you have an effect of STADE on lifetime value. So you can reduce the irradiance by using the 775 nanometer depletion laser, and you put only few percentage of the laser in your cells, so your cells stay alive. So it's very important. It's not the case if you use a green laser. So the not green, it's red. It's 582 laser is very deleterious for the cell alive. It's not the case for the red one. So it is an example of living cell when you put some laser, so at 20%, and you measure some little process here, and you see here you have an improvement of the resolution, so it works. And if you affect the toasted in the image, you improve the quality, not really the resolution, little bit, but the quality of the image by reducing the background. And in living cells, so this is the case of Neil Red. So an acquisition during 10 minutes. So in 3 Z stack during the time, so you can see clearly the little dot of lipid droplet and the details of the cell. So it's very clear with the stead activation, only 2%, you have a very, very good image. If you look at now the mitochondria, so by activate the STEAD laser only 2% again, you detect the signal by stimulating only 3%, so not a lot, but the probe is very bright. So you have the donor cells with the tunneling nanotube here and the mitochondria inside. You have one part with the donor cell and the mitochondria go to the acceptor part. And you have the movement of mitochondria. You see easily the form, so round or tubular. And you can measure the trafficking of mitochondria and see some mitochondria go down and up. Some mitochondria go relatively homogeneously in this part, sometimes more rapidly and not homogeneously. And here you can see mitochondria go inside the acceptor cell. And everything was tracked by using Fiji software, and Christophe Chameau has realized a macro to automatically follow the mitochondria and make the trace and measure the speed. So everything it's details in Bioprotocol Journal and other articles. Now you can not need to observe mitochondrial level, but at the cellular level. So with the Mito tracker, we have the activation of the STEAD laser. And you have this image in classical super resolution STEAD. And when you activate the film laser, the film module, you improve the quality of the image. But as you can see here in the characteristic of Mito Tracker Red, it is multi-component. You can also activate in the other part the lifetime imaging. So in this case, you realize super resolutive image. You can improve the resolution and the signal by using the toasted, but you can also choose to make lifetime imaging to have the information of the toe value. And it's very interesting with this Mito Tracker Red because you have 2 populations. You can have some population with a short lifetime, as you can see here, tubular, and other lifetime more round, so at a high toe level. So it could make the reflect of metabolic state, for example. So it could be very informative to add the super resolution and the lifetime imaging. You can choose to make 2 components in 2 detectors. So in this example, you activate 2 lasers at the simultaneous mode in 2 detectors, one for the Mito Tracker Red and one for the actin. You activate your STEAD laser, so it's not deleterious. And here you have the toasted, so the improvement of the quality of the STEAD image in Mito Tracker Red, in actin. You can make the overlay, of course, but now if you choose to make in parallel the lifetime imaging, you can have a very informative image for the Mito tracker, and it's not very interesting for the actin because it's mono-exponential, but you can imagine to combine this informative image with the Mito Tracker Red with this very good image for the actin. And at the end, you have the combination of the two modalities. Now it's possible to really use the module of film and combine with the STED imaging by the TOSense option of Leica microsystem. So to conclude for this presentation, optimizing live cell imaging requires addressing several key challenges. So for the phototoxicity, it's very important to use the right color. So for the depletion, the right color and few percentage of laser power. So you can decrease the light power at minimum, and it's important also for the photo bleaching. So the photo bleaching, it's passed by the optimization of the concentration of the probe and the time incubation balance and the photo stability in the red. So it's very important. For the multiplexing, the lifetime time imaging is a really important tool. So your dyes could be spectrally similar and you can dissociate by this tool. So it's powerful tools. And for the resolution, by using the STED with this laser. And the improvement of the image, it's since with the lifetime module. So the integration of film and STED module combined with the red and near-infrared probes represent a powerful approach for live cell imaging and balance high resolution with cell preservation. So this is the key point, so cell preservation. I have put all the reference here, and you can find the reference in the protocol, bioprotocol paper. And I would like to thank a lot you for your attention and the Primasen team, so all my colleagues, so Damien, Christophe, Ludovic, and the collaborator, and also the University of Rouen, INSERM, CNRS, and the network France Bioimaging and everybody. So now I'm here for your question.
Thanks, Magali. I got some questions or in the question and answer session or in the chat or in the announcement of but perhaps I will start with the questions in the announcement because they're a long asked question. They asked this question a long time ago. I will start with a question of Andrea. What is the optimal protocol to image mitochondria using live cell STED microscopy? Do you have any clue about that?
Okay, so for the mitochondria, as you can see here, we have checked some probes. So the first point is to have the good probe. So test different probe, so red probe. So we have not test the more red probe like MitoTracker Deep Red. So it could be good to test. For your probe, you can see we have select two. So one mono component and very good for the STED image because you can see easily here, for example, the shape of the mitochondria. So very good. But the other probe is not really good for the STED image, but very informative in film. So it's depending of your aim. So it is one main point. And yes, for the concentration and the physical properties, as you can see, very bright and resist to the light, so resist to the photo bleaching. So it is very important to realize your protocol. And check also the viability. because in one paper before, we have checked MitoTracker, and we have observed the MitoTracker green, for example, is not toxic in the cell, but when you begin the observation, the light green, it's toxic, but the probe make a reaction and release some ROS and makes toxic the toxicity of the cell. So be careful with that.
Right. Thanks.
So,
We'll
yes.
interleave a question from the question and answer, but I will answer myself, in fact. Because a question of Mark, is there a list of products that Leica or Bioprotocol has created for fluorophores that have been characterized for TOW? Yes, they had. There are some public link. Perhaps I will put it in the chat to answer the question of Mark. And I can switch to another question from the announcement. A question of Francisco. How to maximize the temporal resolution in live cell film?
It's a very good question. If you question it's to decrease the time to make some time lapse very rapidly, so in real time. Hopla. I have some in your 2 points in your probe. So if you have a probe very bright, you can decrease the time to make the acquisition. So you can, for example, in the material, sorry, here, you can increase the speed to have a high resolution, temporal resolution. So, for example, you can increase in 1000 or 5000 hertz to be very rapid. If you don't be interested by little details, you can decrease the format, so you increase the speed of the acquisition. The bidirectional mode, it's very, you don't scan line and come back and make another line to have your image at the end. No, you make the acquisition very at the same time, so you can increase the temporal resolution. So it could be that. The resonant mode increase the speed again, and at the end you can, if you combine the format, the speed scanner, and everything, you have a confocal image at the same speed as conventional microscopy. So it is this point. And of course, in film, you don't put the line repetition at 3 times, only 1 to be very rapid. In this case, you can increase the power a little bit to compensate the line repetition. So you have all this possibility to increase the temporal resolution.
Thanks. I put the links from Leica. Someone said the link is not working, but I just clicked on it and it seems to work. In downloads.leica, blah, blah, blah. It's a Stellaris TED sample preparation guide for the first link.
And you have a lot of guide of Leica.
Yeah.
For that.
Thanks. Sorry. So I go on with the questions, perhaps a little bit. I think you talked a little bit in your talk, but the question of Elena is, how does TED affect the determination of lifetime?
Yes, it's a good question. Not in this slide, in the slide of STED. You have a modification of lifetime by using the STED. It's not to, it's to consider, really. In fact, when you activate the STED laser, even your molecule is monocomponent, you add, I know the pointer, to take the pointer. If you see this formula, you add one component, you add another component due to the state, because the state activate forced the photon to come back to the background. So you add a component, and this component it's here, and it's to be considered, and you form a multi-component. So when you activate the laser, more you activate the laser, more the power is high, and more the value go down, in fact, in this phasor plot, because you create multi-component. And you decrease also the time. I have put in another slide an example, because at the beginning, when we have begin the experiment, we have two very mono component with the DNA and actin, so we are happy, yes. And you activate the laser at 40% here, and the phasor plot becomes that. So in fact, the actin signal go here and disappear because the state deleterious for the actin, for the DNA. For the actin, the dot is here, and you see it's not condensate. You have like this signal, and you create background in my case. And more you add the state laser, more your dot go down, and at the end can be together, combined together. So you cannot discriminate, it could be complicated. So you have a modification of the tau value by activating the state. Yes. So I cannot explain more for the physical mechanism. So Leica can have a lot of things to describe that. So.
I got a question also in suspending in question and answer, but it's more related to the fitting and how to. It's a very picky question about the how to make the fitting better and how precise. In fact, I try to translate a little bit how precise you are by selecting the peaks in the phasor plot by hand. Is there a way to be more, let's say, convenient or automatic to select the peaks in the phasor plot?
It's not automatic, and it's when you want to have the result. If you see, for example, here, you have the dot I put here, but if possible to modify the dot. At the end, you have the repetition, equilibration at the middle of each ROE. So be careful. For example, if I select here my mitochondria and I see some actin, I can change the position to obtain the mitochondria. So it's according to you, it's not automatic. And sometimes, if we have only two products, as it is the case here, you can modify a little bit the position, not really in the middle. I prefer to select the middle of my spot, but it's up to you. And it's not automatic.
To complete what you said, I try to test some unsupervised clustering methods directly on the phasor plot in another piece of software called Napari. There's a plot. It's developed in Python, in fact, and I try to do some clustering by like a K-means, for instance, algorithm to select the peaks. Not by hand, but automatically. But I got some poor results for the time being, so I can go further.
Yes, and it's depending of the mixing. For example, here, if I want to preserve my signal here, I prefer to put this dot down or this in the middle. So it's not easy automatically.
Keep in mind, it's not a fitting. The phasor plot is not a fitting.
No.
Other representation, it's not a fitting method. So so I pass to perhaps the last question because it's an hour long. We are going to touch the end, I think. I got some questions perhaps on a question of Lilia. Can Flimstead be adapted for studying oxidative stress markers in live cells models of tissue damage or wound healing?
The flip for the ROS, for the stress of from
Yeah.
ROS, it is a question. Yes, it's published. You can use this technique to measure the ROS, but you can measure the endogen autofluorescence induced by the ROS, but it's not really easy by using the phasor plot, or maybe I don't know, but it's not really easy because the shorter wavelengths due to the simple ROS, it's very close to the background, so it's not easy to dissociate. And after that, the ROS could be measured at some 5 or 6 nanoseconds, and it's limited by the phasor plot. You have other technical to measure film more adapted for see the endogenous ROS, I think. After that, you can use exogenous probe to measure the ROS. And in this case, I think it's totally possible with this technique. Because you are in the range of lifetime value. I do that.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Perhaps the last one. Question about plant science, because we have Choi-Min. Choi-Min asks how to apply this technology in plant science to image different cell layer, like not only epidermis, but also endodermis, for example. I think the question is related to the thickness of the sample.
The thickness of the sample is totally compatible with the confocal technique because you image stack by stack, so Z by Z, so it's totally adapted. And when we have seen, you activate the film only with one button, so it's totally adapted. And it's very good to see the vegetables, the plant with this technique because you have all the information with chlorophyll and other molecules. So you can imagine to have the phasor plot with each spot corresponding to the autofluorescence and with your spot specific and discriminate everything. And to do that in the big Z stack with all the layers, it could be very nice. So it's a very good idea. It's completely adapted. So yes.
For FLIM, but for STED.
For STED, no, for two reasons. Because the tissue very thick is not very good in STED, because the STED is very good for monolayer, but not for the tissue in general. And if you have background, everything is illuminated by the STED laser, so it could be very difficult. But in confocal film, perfect, but not with the STED. I think it's not possible for the thickness and for the because you have the autofluorescence.
Yeah, it's pretty harsh to maintain the donut shape with a very thick sample. So STED is very difficult to achieve with a thick sample.
There exists the 3D STED. We have the 3D STED adapted for the Z, but in reality, it's very good for the monolayer. So you can do really thin Z, but not multi-layers.
Good. Thank you for your answers. Perhaps we will come to a conclusion.
All right. Well, thank you so much, both for an interesting talk and a great discussion. And thank you everyone for being